My name is Christopher Delia, a professor of oceanography and coastal sciences at Louisiana State University's College of the Coast and Environment, where I served as dean for 14 years. I'm also the principal investigator on a grant from the KECK Foundation. It's aimed at creating an undergraduate minor in deltaic research. This initiative ultimately became a concentration within our college's Coastal Environmental Science BS program, a unique environmental sciences degree with a coastal focus. As part of this program, we're piloting a course on the world's deltas through the LSU Honors College. One of the deltas we explore in this course is the Po Delta, home to the environmentally threatened UNESCO World Heritage Site of Venice, Italy. Our Louisiana coast shares similar problems, so our students can benefit from expert knowledge and wisdom from this area. We encourage our students to go abroad and experience places like Venice. We even hope to develop a summer course in Italy. Venice, renowned for its rich artistic and cultural heritage, is also a city facing a serious environmental challenge. It is sinking, a process scientifically known as subsidence. This makes it an ideal case study for our course because we are studying many similar areas that are subsiding. Fortunately, several of us at the college have a long-standing connection with one of the world's leading experts on this issue, Dr. Giovanni Cecconi. Dr. Cecconi played a key role as an engineer on the MOSI project, a system designed to mitigate flooding in Venice caused by subsidence. He is also an authority on coastal ecology and engineering. With support from the KECK Foundation, we had the privilege of inviting Dr. Cecconi to LSU for a week of teaching and lecturing, including a session in our World Delta class. During his visit, I had the opportunity to sit down for an in-depth interview with my colleague and friend of 35 years, discussing Venice, its flooding challenges, the MOSI project, and the city's future. This video presents Dr. Cecconi's insights from that conversation. To streamline the presentation, and because his responses were so thorough and engaging, we've edited the footage to focus solely on his answers. I hope that you find this discussion informative and thought-provoking. Enjoy and learn more about this fascinating coastal issue.
Hello everybody, I'm Giovanni Cecconi from Venice, Italy. The MOSA is a system to close the lagoon when there is too much water at sea that can enter and flood the historical city. It is made of 4 barriers in 3 different inlets. One inlet in the north has 2 channels with different depth with an island. So altogether it is a span of around 1,600 meters in 4 different gaps, each of them with 20 flaps, 20 meter wide, depth ranging from 7 meter to 12 meter, and navigation has to enter the lagoon needs to be flushed, so there are navigation lock, and the system is totally movable. This means that when it's not needed, it is disappearing because there are constraints that says that we don't have to marry the view and leave the flow normal all the year long when there is no need to protect the city from flooding. So it's an incredible luxury item, I call it, because not everybody can allow to keep some steel structures down in the bed of the water, saline water, that is a very high potential corrosion and fouling, mediated by the fouling that also is causing other problem for the maneuverability of the barrier. But we took this challenge, and now, after 12 years, we can say that it was a good solution because corrosion is not a problem, much less than expected. The surface tension, and so the water can slip over the surface, and the creature, the small individuals that try to stick on top, very difficult to do that. So altogether, it's a good example of adapting the solution to the situation without a command of control into the final result. At a certain point, there was a stagnation in the storm surge barrier projects because everybody were gaining of not doing it but pretending to do that. So there were the opponents that asked more investigation and the ones that were in favor who did that investigation. Other money was asked by others to reduce the potential impacts. So indeed, there were all the political parties that changed 3 or 4 times in Rome and locally gained out of going deeper into the project, but not doing the final step. At a certain point in Rome, the second government of Berlusconi won the election. He was center-right, and he won and said, we need to be practical, let's deliver. You are studying over the last 30 years, so start building it. I give you the money because I can allocate a special funding that will be separated by all the other parasite funding, let's call it. We made the project. It was a lump sum project that was important because Berlusconi asked, give me the lump sum. I give you the lump sum and you do that. Very simple. And that was a success because everybody turned mind. The one that gained from the delays was reduced to a minimal number, still counting. And so even with Berlusconi, there was some last minute. At a certain point, the mayor of Venice set up a team of, we call them, as a joke, a team of infermieri, of nurses, men and female nurse. A team of nurses, because they get no money, they just did by themselves a new idea and invention that could be more viable and less impactful. And so there was the party with €500 million of investigation and 30 years of experience. And then the party of independent nurse that developed their own idea, pretending that their idea were better. Of course, there was at that moment not Berlusconi but Prodi, together with the Ministry of Public Work, that was the famous judge Di Pietro, and also with my contribution that I said there is no impact. These are also fake news because the lagoon is dammed twice a year, twice a month for 3 + 3 days, because when you have nip tide, the water is stagnant, also in August. So don't continue to say that we will kill the biota and the ecosystem. The ecosystem is much more stressed by the moon than by ourselves. The only impact will be on the navigation, but you can put navigation lock and make the closure independent from the traffic, as it is the case. So sometimes there are vested interests, both in doing the job slowly because you get more money, and delaying the job because you have the veto power. And so you see the situation without a mad person like Berlusconi, mad in terms of personal credibility, but as a businessman is very good. When Berlusconi went in, said, this is crazy. You are winning from the delay, both the parties. And I want to show up because we can do that. Let's do that. I remember that immediately it was clear to me because I was the face of the consortium, even speaking with the environmentalists that were very much against the barrier. But I developed a friendship with them because I knew exactly their vested interest, so we were smiling. We were, if we gave up the project, they will help us in restarting the project because their power was reflected by our power, our business, you know. We did a plan of studies and investigation that lasted 20 years and is still continuing because we studied to know more about the system in a systematic way. At that time, we had some consultant that suggested to have an holistic approach. The only issue we have not considered was the economy, because there was a law that said you have to protect Venice and the environment, also with mobile barriers. So we didn't care about the cost benefit. We did only later that. And we did with the World Bank Commission, and they said, you were right, because the value of Venice is much higher, because the willingness to pay for the value of existence, what means that I can ask €1 to the whole citizen of the world, and 10% of them will give that euro because Venice will continue to exist, like the Gioconda or the opera. So this means that the value of existence of Venice is infinite. And so why you do a cost-benefit analysis? If we put forward a long-term objective, we can behave better in the short term, because there are more space and time and resources to agree on the long term. While we argue about something we want to do tomorrow, of course, if you don't get all the information, if you are not sure that you will gain something, not only losing, because we are adverse toward the risk of losing something, then in favor of taking advantage of something. So this is a cognitive bias that we have. So in order to do that, it's important to establish a participatory approach for anticipating the futures, not the future, singular, but the futures, because we are the one that make the futures. We cannot predict, but we can adapt and participate with others into this process. And so now, after the consideration that during the last 30 years, the speed of the sea level increased by twofold in Venice, from 25 centimeters per century to 50 centimeters. And we can tell from the proxy data of Canaletto, who painted the facade of the building, we can see the black line of the high tide mark climbing up, and the steps got wet and slippery, and the people falls into the water. More chlorine is used to wash the steps. So there are many indexes that everybody can tell that we are in a period of acceleration of sea level rise. If we make a projection that in 40 years the sea level will rise of 60 centimeters, at that point the barrier will become useless. Even though the technical rise was planned to be with a certain scenario of half this figure, 30 centimeters, 1 century. Apart from the cost benefit that I told you, because we gain more because we save more frequently the flooding of free falls, the life will be shorter but more intense and more rewarding because we save much more than expected to make it short. But apart from that, it is interesting to see what is the next step, but not in 50 years. Now, projecting the future in the present. This is a social catalyzer of regeneration of the social city that now is divided because of the conflicting interest. The one that work with the tourism that is increasing, and this tourism is producing even a phenomenon of Las Veganization. Venice is made as if as it is seen from a person that saw it in Las Vegas. And we are adapting to that because he's paying, he's coming and buying. And so the architect tried to fulfill this idea of magic of Venice, but it's not the real Venice. So we are prostituting Venice to this idea because we do not have any idea of future. So this is my effort now, to help Venice to be active in building its own future together with the other water community of the world. This is very important because not only Venice can save herself as it was over the 700 years of the Republic and 2000 years, still shining in any situation, but we can allow small water community to enter into a transformation process that can improve the global situation of the inhabitants. 70% of the people lives close to the water. That's why I want to celebrate Venice next March with Aquamur, that is a festival of the people that lives close to the water, benefiting of Venice as an experiential lab, as a showroom, as an continuous living exhibition of the art of living with water, and to become water, because there is also an impermanence of living close to the water. This impermanence is very important because it's something that is common to all the society, from Japan, in which they have a philosophy of impermanence, to China, because our life is limited. And so we have to go beyond our rational and enter into this sensorial dimension. We spoke during these days of these common ideas of sharing experiences while we act. So our communication has to be practical. And the idea is to install a summer school in Venice since the next year, in order that we can exchange hospitality, providing a service to Venice, because Venice can differentiate the touristic rush, the mass tourism, into experiential and technological tourism. We call it tourism, but indeed the tourist is a visitor, is a potential citizen of Venice. And you can see the win-win situation. I go to Venice, I enjoy Venice, I become part of Venice, as we are part of nature. We belong to each other, and we all belong to nature. We can change nature with Venice as a catalyzer, not because Venice is more important than nature. But you see, this psychological game make us more proud of our living independently if I was born in San Marco Square or I was born in a small country village in the Texas region. Oh, but if you do big work, the impact will be big and nature will suffer, because I know it. Big means money. And you look the money and you destroy nature, because nature is holy nature. But nature is not insensible to our needs. We would like to have a mother nature, but it's a bad mother nature. So in order to convince the people to take the proper approach, especially the young generation, I suggest them to start thinking where goes the money, where the money goes, what are the vested interests of the people, opinion on which they rely. This can be difficult, I think, because it takes you working hard with your mind to check all the information. Fact checking is not trivial exercise, even for newspaper. It is an impossible exercise, because at the end we cannot be expert of everything. And so a good proxy is do something, start knowing something from inside and not from outside. Go in the mud with your boots and start seeing if the mussel cultivation will suffer by sediment spill, because this is crazy. How can we impact the capacity of the shell to survive in this hostile environment just because we do something artificial? Nature is much stronger of them, and we do not know all the resilience. We are a young species that went on Earth the last 5 minutes of a cycle of 24 hours. Let's ask nature with the biomimicry or natural build solution, engineering nature, whatever you want to call. Let's learn and be nature, because there are the solution, not in the principle of wise people that pretend to predict natural behavior.
Well, we've had a very good discussion and probably should think about wrapping up. Is there anything I did not ask you that I should have?
Yes, go on.
Well, what more can you add that I didn't ask?
Oh, I will leave to myself. Will you be able, Giovanni, to become an entrepreneur and found a young student or professional organization that can spread all over the world?
That's a good ambition indeed.
I really think that I can do that with the help of my friend. That's it, because I know a lot of people, a lot of them visited Venice, a lot of them are passionate about Venice, and if they take my point of view, not my opinion, just the way I do things, I think we will do that.